decide who those teams will be thinking about match point finals, those will be thinking about a tough day on Saturday, and those will be booking their flights home.
Yeah, the flights home will be sad ones, waving goodbye to Riyadh, but certainly going to have that opportunity to get all the way to Sunday into those match point finals, which I'm sure you are not going to want to miss, because match point finals in Apex, always the best thing you could possibly have on your screens. Now, when it comes to competing in the ALGS, obviously we had somewhat of a recent patch, so we are going to see some new legends maybe coming into the equation, maybe some legends banned a little bit earlier that you wouldn't have seen previously as well in regional finals, for example. But I'm very excited to see just how they're going to feature today.
We're going to see a lot of Watson, you would imagine. Of course, a lot of buffs. Probably the most buffed character that we did see in the entire suite of legends available. We're going to see her certainly prevalent in some of these early picks. But then you have like Sparrow, you know. Sparrow was something we didn't really see at the ALGS Open. It was a new season character, so we're going to see him on land for the first time. It's very exciting to see how these legends are going to slide into these competitions. Like you say, whether they be new legends, whether they be buff legends, or whether they be legends that we're a little bit more familiar with.
Yes, and on average, we have seen Watson and Alter as the two most banned during scrims anyway, leading up to this event, so I would expect that here in match one. And it looks like the players are just about getting ready here. They're locking and they're loading, but I'm excited to see it.
Well, $2 million on the line as well. One of the biggest prize pools in the Apex Legends Global Series. And of course, you can see that Crusher waiting for the keys of the teams that will be eliminated at some point. We are ready to get underway here in Riyadh. Lyle is back. It's the mid-season playoffs, and we're starting off with Falcons.
And this was a big focus from the analyst desk. They were talking about this northwest area. Of course, Skyhook Trials is where Falcons are going to be dropping, but just south of them, between Miles and Edward Gaming, is there going to be a little bit of a ruckus for a potential ring console? It looks like both teams have got a ring console to work with, so I think they'll be more than happy and won't have to take a fight between them. So Miles and Edward Gaming should be absolutely fine when they have to fight there.
Yeah, something just to highlight on Falcons as well. Skyhook, it's not that they've just got Trials, they've actually got the entirety of Skyhook to themselves. So pretty good chance that they're going to have multiple Evo Harvesters, multiple interacts with ring console, survey beacons, and of course the loot from Trials. So good chance that Falcons leave every single game from their POI with purples and golds.
Yeah, purples and golds, they're going to be looted, booted, and because they did prioritize this as their first pick during the POI draft, they need points here on World's Edge. Now, this is the lay of the land on World's Edge. We are going to be heading down south, down between Lava Siphon and Tree most likely, and of course, we feature a little bit of Harvester right now for Furia, so those three teams landing in those spots will get priority to zone.
Looking at where that zone is going to be going, Truck is going to be maybe a late game play for a lot of these teams, but the Tracks is certainly going to be somewhere that people will want to hold down. That platform outside of Lava Siphon, you would imagine teams will play for a little bit later on as a position to maybe look to pick up some kills from and rain down a little bit of fire as they move towards that end game. But there's a good chance actually here that this pulls into the open ground down around those rock formations. It's pretty difficult to navigate towards the end game if you don't have a character that can control that space. But let's have a little look at Sentinels here, dropping over at the northern side of the map. They've got a long, long way to go, as now we go from the north towards where the teams are going to be trying to take a little bit of priority. Zero Tenacity being one of those teams.
Yeah, Zero Tenacity, a very impressive team during scrims as well when they were playing on World's Edge. One of the best, actually, probably top 3 out of all teams competing in this tournament. Not just this lobby, in this tournament. So I'm expecting big things from them on World's Edge in particular. So we'll see whether they can live up to those expectations that I'm setting for them now.
We're already seeing compositions featuring Watson, and one of them in front of us, our Kazia Esports, you can see with Newcastle and Watson in the composition, so they're going to be able to hold down that ground pretty comfortably on those train tracks. Orchid now making their move to the Snake building, which is on the southern side of Harvester. It's interesting to see a lot of teams, as always is the case, Dan, when we get to LAN, the style of play changes very rapidly, very quickly. A lot of teams early rotating here to zone.
Yeah, I mean, some of the scrims we've seen lately, there'd be like 4 teams left in Ring 3, Ring 2. Just so many teams dying early, but when money is on the line, this much money is on the line, yeah, suddenly those playstyles do change. And you mentioned it, a lot of Watsons, I believe from what I can see, Watson going to be banned going into match 2 with those legend bans as well, because there's just so much Watsons being selected. She is an incredible legend now with all the changes that have come in, whether it's those fences, just making sure they can basically not allow anyone to enter. You touch a door that is electrified now, and suddenly you can't even open it. You can't even boot it down without getting shocked.
Well, Furia playing the high ground outside of Harvester here. You can see that's a position that's going to be pretty easy to hold down. for that long game, as long as they can avoid some Skynades. Just looking at the composition here, you can see it's going to be Crypto, Watson, and Alta for them early on. So that interception pylon from Watson will be able to eat up any Skynades that do come their way. But they're actually playing down the low ground, excuse me. It was TSM, if I wasn't mistaken, who are above them. So this position here for the long game, going to be pretty good for Furia. And this is going to be one of those games that we take a look at now as somewhat of a slow burner. A lot of teams already inside a Lava Siphon, a lot of teams already inside a Harvester. Team Nemesis, one of those teams who drops down to the south here around Tree. You can see when the zone pulls towards you, sometimes not the best thing in the world because you don't even get a chance to get Evo. They're on whites at the moment.
And as this is most likely going to be the only game we see Watson with that ban coming through in, very unlikely we'll get a controller reset, although still possible in 10 matches. We are going to see a lot of people usually take the same kind of perk tree with Watson as well, going for the ultimate conductor when you get onto blues to just make sure you can get that ult charge up on Nox. Really just get as many ultimates as possible because the gen is just so powerful.
Interested that Furia looking for a couple of cheeky abductions with the Ulta Qs. Void passages going down, see if they could just steal away a TSM player, maybe get a free knock, which will make it life a lot more comfortable for them. And of course, TSM would have to leave, craft a banner, and make that space available for Furia to play a little bit later on. Talking of teams, though, they're a long way away from Tree at the moment, where we are expecting this zone to go. Interesting to see over at Stacks, you've got Fox, and you've got Gen G Esports still fighting between Stacks and Big Maud. On the northern side, you've got Sentinels and Team Falcons a long way out, and then the furthest team on the western side of this zone at the moment, Edward Gaming, heading their way through Thermal Station.
Yeah, a few teams who are going to be rotating through late, and they're going to have to fight their way in. So we're going to see some interesting fights, probably around Ring 3. I mean, at the moment, everyone's been able to find somewhere pretty comfortable in and around those areas, so we shouldn't see too many fights, apart from mainly just poke fights. People just trying to get a little bit of damage, trying to get a little bit of Evo, maybe trying to deplete some of the resources on teams that are nearby. But this is, again, the beauty of Watson. You can kind of hold these more open areas. You can protect yourself a little bit. You are a scarier target now with how impressive that not just the fences are, but of course that pylon.
Well, Nemesis, interestingly enough, look like they're moving away towards the southern side, towards launch side. Maybe just in the hunt for an opportunity to upgrade at an Arsenal, which looks like is going to be the case, is certainly for one of the players, but maybe a chance to just pick up a little bit of Evo. There is a ring console and a survey beacon available inside of launch site here, so maybe that's going to be the plan here for Nemesis. Play for that next zone information as well as being able to get back up somewhere towards blue where they're going to be able to fight if they're forced to.
Nemesis have been able to find a lot of kills when it comes to World's Edge throughout scrims as well, averaging around 5 kills per game. And of course, 5 kills may not sound like much to you if you're used to playing matchmaking, for example, and playing ranked, but honestly, 5 kills in these lobbies per game on average is very impressive indeed.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Zuni as well. I think a lot of eyes are going to be on him at this tournament to see if he can recreate the form that we've seen in the build-up to this event here at the EWC. One of the top fraggers in recent days in scrims. They had a monster game in scrims, monster day, in scrims very, very recently. That certainly would have just made the confidence where it needs to be when you're coming into a $2 million mid-season playoffs like we have in front of us. Other teams have been very impressive in scrims as well. Ninjas in Pajamas, you can see them on your screen on the left-hand side right now, putting up some really, really consistent performances. And on World's Edge as well, they do drop over at Dome, which historically hasn't been one of the strongest POIs, but we've been talking a little bit before the tournament. We were saying Arsenal's, the addition of that seems to have just leveled out and leveled up a few of those weaker POIs.
Yeah, just being able to have the weapons that you want to have. And yes, okay, you might not find all the attachments you want. You won't have as good loot available to you, but you can at least journey with those right weapons. And it means if you do get into a fight, you've got weapons you're comfortable with, rather so than like holding onto an alternator for God knows how long because you haven't been able to find an R9, for example.
The crypto drones are out for quite a few of these teams at the moment. You can hear them hovering about. You can certainly see them hovering about as well to collect information. Destroying those right on cue. Thank you very much, Vayne. Is going to be important to make sure these teams can rotate without getting EMP'd, as well as spotted out by those crypto players. Wolves now making their way through the train tunnel as we jump on board with them. A couple of tracking darts, which is going to give information away of their movements. Using these alter cues, the void passages, just to cross a little bit more extra ground without being able to take damage. So important for these awkward and sometimes scary looking crosses.
So that zone is going to be shifting a little bit further south. Now we might have our first real 3v3 here. Falcons taking on Fnatic.
Well, Falcons certainly have the armor advantage. And Wolsey now trying to anchor. You can see Hal's down to 1 HP. Flatline in the hands of Walty here, which is something he's become very, very comfortable with. In the meantime, we do see Genji Esports eliminated as our first team out of this lobby. And it actually looks like Fnatic are going to back off from this fight here. So a little bit of a split of resources because Edward Gaming actually looked to third party that.
Yeah, both teams just retreating. A big thanks to that portal, the Nexus being available on both sides. And, or at least on one side, it was actually the Ash portal for Fnatic is how they escaped. And EDG just trying to close in on these two remaining players. But Fnatic are going to be down just to one now. And for Colonel Garcia, it's about trying to escape, stay alive. I don't think you're going to be able to.
Well, it's a nice spray, but this is even better. Fnatic will be the second team eliminated here in game number 1 on World's Edge. A little bit of a rough start here for the APAC North powerhouse. Edward Gaming, charge rifle in hand. I would be running you down if you were playing that in ranked.
He's not lying either. He does take a personal vendetta against anyone.
It's a personal thing.
Anyone who's running a charge rifle will very much be pushed. So now things starting to heat up a little bit. 2 squads have been eliminated as everyone starting to be pressed together by these rings. As I said, the zone is going to be shifting a little bit further south. That was to be expected, though most teams had predicted that.
As you saw in the little hit that came up there, you can see Zappa just managed to pick up some goodies from a care package for all gamers global. So we're doing a great job on the production side to keep you informed on all of the information that you need to receive at home to give you an idea of what's going on the map here. And it does look like zone-wise we are going to pull down to that area we were talking about right at the start of the game. We are going into those crevasses to the northern side of Tree and the southern side of the track. So ALGS in a great spot. Oh, you also see Falcons retreating. And speaking of great spots, they could not be in a better spot as we've just seen where the next zone is popping.
Yeah, ALGS have very much predicted this one correctly and will be in prime position, and they've got a Nexus portal set up in case they want to be able to just move away from their current spot. They really have set up a nice triangle formation.
They certainly have. They're trying to own both the truck on the low ground, which is going to be obviously where a lot of teams try and move into. One of the only pieces of kind of hard cover that you do have in this zone, and the train tracks above. So it's a great spot from you. They're taking so much space and saying, hey, if you want to move into this zone, we own it.
And actually, they are the only team within that next zone after it closes yet again. So other teams are going to start to join them, but that space they're generating right now is going to be massive for them. I think Enterforce 36 are going to be joining them shortly, but we're currently having a look at what's happening elsewhere on this northern side. And the reason for that, there's going to be a lot of action here on the north. You've got Orchid, you've got Fury, you've got Kinotrope, so many teams.
Well, look at E36 right now. They have made the play to take this truck away from ALGS, and by doing so, have forced ALGS into a position where they want to fight, and they are going to fight. So this is the space they were desperate to command, and they are commanding it beautifully. Fury, in the meantime, have been eliminated. They were not able to rotate from the Harvester side.
Yeah, these Harvester teams are all going to be struggling. As I mentioned, TSM, the remainder of Enterforce 36, Kinotrope, Orchid, Mouse, even Edward Gaming might get involved as well. Sentinel stuck in the tunnel. It's going to be mayhem here, and a team like ALGS, who have eyes on kind of all of this northern side, could pick up a lot of kills, especially with weapons like the 30-30, which could be the most used weapon. It could be the most kills that we see throughout this tournament as well. And I saw on social media a lot of players were trying to predict which weapon they thought. What do you think it's going to be, Mark?
Ooh, that's a tough one, actually. I haven't seen many Devos in players yet. And with the way that teams are quick rotating, maybe it is going to be R9 30-30s. It's going to be certainly topping the leaderboards. We'll have to see as the games progress and as we get through the days, of course, if that does change a little bit. Zero Tenacity, we saw them rotate so quickly to this position on the fence line as Orchid are trying to deal with the last remaining members of E36, and that's exactly what they are going to do. So E36 will be eliminated from the lobby. Some of those KP go into the team on your screen right now.
KP is going to be important. These points, every single one is going to be so important when we get to those final games to see who's going to be eliminated. Now, Zone is going to be shifting a little bit further south, away from where ALGS were currently holding, which isn't the worst because they can still go down to the truck, but it is going to end up in that kind of open area rock formation, which is difficult to hold for teams.
Well, listen to the firing squad here. As Kinotrope fires some shots out as we take a look at the fans that have come in to be a part of the mid-season playoffs here. Kinotrope, this is a tough rotate for them. You're looking at the composition at the moment, trying to see if there's any characters. They do have Ash, so that portal is viable for them to get out. But where do you go? It's such a difficult rotate to make, even with that portal, because you're probably going to be landing in an open space.
Yeah, landing in the open space is going to be rough for a lot of these teams as well. There are a few teams that are playing a little bit off meta. We do see some Newcastles featuring, for example, that might be able to help. There's a Pathfinder from Na'Vi. Could also be very important to try and zip across and get a little bit of protection as well. But mainly it's going to be the lack of ability to throw grenades with the amount of Watsons that are going to be alive here. As Na'Vi, speaking of them, they're taking a fight against Sentinels right now.
They certainly are indeed, and you can see that Na'Vi are getting a couple of knocks, but one player slab has gone down. They need to open the door to get him back up as they have dealt with Sentinels. The armor swap will go down, and Na'Vi look like they should be able to reset here in the command station, overlooking Lava Siphon. So Na'Vi with a good fight here as now Team Orchid try and deal with TSM, who are trying to move to the outside of that building. But Orchid quite simply are saying no to this. Panic is last alive. He's trying to bounce in and out of this auto portal, but I think that might be the end of him very, very soon. One player still alive, but Orchid will be able to get back up. Mouse, in the meantime, eliminated 14 squads, now remaining in game number 1.
Did trade reses. Dupe is going to be back up, so it's going to be a 2 versus 3 here. Unless, no, it's a 3 versus 3, but do you get the reset in time? You can see the panic starting to set as well, because everyone's starting to think about this ring moving in 20 seconds.
TSM get back up. Orchid maybe just a little bit sloppy, maybe a bit scared to extend out of that building. As we see Jen now and the rest of TSM under a lot of suppressing fire coming in from Na'Vi. As Kinatrope will be the next team to be eliminated. Feud, by the way, in the meantime, has become the kill leader in this lobby for Z10. 4 kills to his name.
You can see the panic as well as everyone now starting to fall. Movie Star will get taken down. 12 squads now remain. Na'Vi, by the way, I mean, they looked excellent in scrims, not just leading into it, but as we saw live scrims happening in this building, they look like a real threat, and maybe that championship winning team that we saw back at Champs.
Yeah, confidence is a big, big thing, I think, for this Na'Vi roster, and they certainly do have a chip on their shoulder. Zero tenacity. We were talking about a kill leader. Well, unfortunately, now they're going to have to watch from the lobby. Ninjas in Pajamas will be next as we find ourselves with 10 squads now remaining. Half the lobby is gone. A TSM somehow or other have made this crazy rotate from having one player alive to getting a reset to now being in the truck that was being commanded by ALGS a little bit of time ago.
Nose Fox going down, but TSM are going to be below ALGS, so they are going to struggle to push out, but maybe could hold them out a little bit. But Na'Vi will be taking a look. Wolves have taken a lot of damage here as well. No one is safe. No one is in a good position right now, by the way. Everyone kind of has to move in at the same time.
Well, All Game is looking at Wolves trapped inside of this truck. And if there's no gen down, there certainly doesn't look like there's one available. 44% until that generator is going to be available. That interception pylon for Crazy Kong to stop any nades coming their way. I think they're just hoping that All Gamers don't have any nades, but now you're going to see him go in, and you're also going to see the America's kill leader from the Pro League, Zap, move in to pick up a few more for his tally. That's 2. Can he make it 3? Well, he doesn't need to because his teammates are there. Wolves eliminated. In the meantime, Na'Vi also go as well.
Yeah, there was a fight between Na'Vi, Orchid, and ALGS. Now, ALGS have lost 2 players, so it kind of went in favor of Team Orchid on this northern bridge, but they still have to move south. And look who is now holding one of the better positions, Team Falcons. They can gen up, they can get their fences down, and they can watch all these teams arriving from the north. Their main concern is going to be Team Nemesis down to their south.
If Falcons can survive in the next 20 seconds or so, as this zone closes, they're going to be in a fantastic position. Speaking of which, the team who had a fantastic position, ALGS Esports, have been eliminated. And also, in the kill feed, you might notice that Dropped from All Gamers has found himself a Kraber.
TSM are in trouble. Gent, the last remaining player, he's going to go down as well. Falcons will hold, thanks to Team Orchid. But now, Falcons just need to make sure that they get away from all these bullets coming from the other side.
And this is All Gamers who are firing down on them. I mentioned how that next 20 seconds was so important for them to survive. Well, it's looking tougher and tougher as those seconds tick past. Once he's still alive, is he able to get the rest of Falcons back on their feet as Orchid, as a 2, have managed to somehow survive?
So as a lay of the land, we still have Team Nemesis alive. We've not seen them much on our screens, but they've been holding the southwest for quite some time. AG dropping onto EDG now, and it looks like AG have got the lead, and they will take down Edward Gaming. 4 squads now remain.
Use that void passage to get back up to the high ground as well, so job done. They now know there's no team underneath them. Team Orchid, though, they're going to pull up. And they're going to be decimated here. That's one player dealt with, and surely now, with a numbers advantage on their side, All Gamers are thinking of repeating the exact play they just made.
Yeah, Orchid down to just a solo rat, so it's going to be Falcons, it's going to be AG, and it is going to be Nemesis. Of course, Luxford can still play a big part in this final circle. We've still not seen Nemesis on our screens, but don't forget about them. They're playing Newcastle, they're playing Alter, and they are playing Watson.
And the question was, can Watsy get Zero and Hal back on their feet? Yes, quite simply yes. You can see it on your screen. Falcons back to full power as Luxford has to deal with all gamers dropping again. That will be Team Orchid eliminated. We're down to just 3.
Big fight though, Nemesis, they go into Falcons. This is opening up for all gamers.
It's opening up for all gamers, but can they get Hal back on his feet before all gamers move in here? All gamers now trying to make the swing, trying to make the swap. And it looks like they should be in a position here to take game number 1 away. Zero on his own, he'll be dealt with, and All Gamers Global will win your game number 1 here.
And they look like a bunch of gamers as they jump up and celebrate as well, because they not only take game 1, but they take it away from the fan favorites Falcons, silencing the crowd, I am sure, but still an impressive start for both squads. But that is a 26-point game.